I think we were expecting a lot of FTCCI members, but still no problem because this is a beginning. I don't think even India has not woken up yet to the problem of climate crisis. So I think FTCCI members are part of India. They are still yet to learn that what is going to hit them. It is going to hit them, everyone, not only them. So they'll learn hard way. But I think I'll like to congratulate FTCCI for stepping forward and organizing this curtain raiser meeting. And I request them to be with us for the duration of the COP27, November 6 to 18. We have a series of activities with a network of organizations. So it will involve a lot of discussions on different dimensions of climate crisis. It will be every day we'll have 3 events. So I request all of you and also the FTCCA to be part of this effort so that we can reach out as many people as possible because we are behind. They should have had a leap in our thinking and our action when it comes to climate crisis. As Ms. Kathy was mentioning, we are all contributing to climate change, but we are not contributing to climate action. I think that is required, and I hope these kind of workshops, symposiums will help in evolving a plan individually and also at a association level or network level and also sectoral level so that we are not left behind and we will not end up as victims of climate crisis because that is what is happening and Indian manufacturers are, if they are not going to respond, they are also going to be victims of crisis, even though their contribution to emissions is also a problem which is very, very important and which we need to discuss. Next. So basically, this is we are discussing in the context of conference of parties that is shortly called COP. We started in 1995 and every year, almost every year, conference is happening on what to do, how to do, when to do. But I think the most serious effort started with 2015 Paris COP meeting. So I think there a broad kind of understanding has emerged so that every country will take up action to reduce the emissions from that country. So I think that is a crucial milestone in this COP conference of parties. So there, I think along with this COP, we are seeing IPCC reports, International Panel on Climate Change. They have been continuously giving reports. IPCC reports have been warning us about the impending climate crisis. Even the most recent August report, which we are going to see, August report, August 2022, they are saying we are not on track. Actually, we should have been far ahead on the track, but we are not even on the track to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees. So the result we are seeing in the last 3-4 years where we are seeing extreme drought in certain parts of the world, and in India extreme drought we are seen in Uttar Pradesh this year, Jharkhand, West Bengal, parts of the West Bengal, and suddenly within 1 month in Uttar Pradesh 650% rise in the water rainfall just within 1 month. Until 6 months back it was a drought. The people thought they have lost their agriculture season. Then when the rain started, they started sowing. and now it is completely, the pendulum has moved to the other side. So these extreme weather events are happening all over, including Hyderabad, but unfortunately, the policymakers are not recognizing the problem. We are busy with elections. We are busy with fighting each other. Political parties dominate media discussion. We are not at even sink our teeth into the problem. I think that is a very serious problem we are having. So you can see the prediction shows that we, these are, yeah, these have been questioned also. Earlier, they said 2 degrees we might reach by 2050, but now we might reach in within 2 years or 3 years also. So 2030 target for many of the commitments are being questioned, and we are nowhere beginning to understand the problem at all. So I think serious issues are coming up. People are dying. Climate victims are increasing, but we are not at awake to this problem. So I think other speakers are there. I'm not going into detail. The major problem is carbon in the atmosphere. I think why carbon is increasing in the atmosphere. We all know because we are burning fossil fuels left, right, and everywhere, and that has been happening for the past 200 years. But increasingly, the carbon in atmosphere is increasing as we are destroying environment, which the cycles, natural carbon cycles, which take carbon, is being destroyed, like oceans, forests. We are destroying them in lakhs of acres. Since COP26 and COP27, between now, last 6 months in Brazil, they said area as big as France has been deforested. So this deforestation, even though on the one side we are saying it is a major problem, but on the other side people continue to do what they want to do. So the top emitters we can see the countries. We are also part of that. India is now emerging as one of the top emitters of the carbon emissions. So I think that recognition has to be included in parliament or legislation, but ultimately legislatures, but it's not happening. Now, one of the, I think this is, there are different data sets. One data set shows which country is contributing how much. So the biggest are China, USA, and India. So India is one of the major emitters. So, resource consumption, fossil fuel consumption, and ultimately the result in terms of emissions is because of that consumption. And China, you can see, we don't have this kind of data within our country, even though there are several authors in IPCC from India. Indian data sets are still emerging. I think a lot of data needs to come about the sectoral contributions. Here you can see the global, division of sector-wise, how much emissions are happening. So the biggest is the energy, and next is agriculture. But again, this comes from a perspective of the developed countries. So we need to again look at our own perspective, because emissions data is questioned in several places, and even in COP there is now a major discussion is happening about reporting format, standardizing the report format, because just for the sake of negotiations or to jockey their position, each one is trying to give their own data. But ultimately we can see that energy in the form of fossil fuels, in the form of production, I think a lot of energy is being used, and that energy is leading to emissions. Now, among the sectors, I think the major sector you can see is industry, 21%. So this is where I think we need to sit up and understand where we can reduce emissions within the industry. And in India, of course, there are some pilots happening, but no, it is not deep enough. Basically, CIA or FAPSI or all these chambers of commerce, they are still not into this kind of discussion. I'm rushing through because we have speakers and I have less time. So one of the COP26 expectations, several expectations came last year when Glasgow meeting happened. And one is about the progress in terms of nationally determined commitments. Each country, they are given their commitments to reduce emissions by 2030, by 2050 or 2070. So each one have their set their own voluntary commitments, and though the progress in those commitments were expected in COP26 last year, and people were asking for more ambitious goals. Whatever goals were set by them, the pressure is for more ambitious goals because we are seeing that change coming very fast. So people want a more ambitious goals. And of course, adaptation is being discussed where people want to adapt to the climate change or whatever consequences of the climate change. But that is again a controversial or a very contested discussion is happening on adaptation. Who has to adapt and who is contributing to the these emissions. So there is a lot of discussion. Africa and small countries, ocean, countries, small countries with ocean islands, they are now already facing the problem because of climate crisis, and they are asking for a response from liability, accountability from countries which are contributing to emissions. Of course, mitigation is a major issue, but mitigation is being sequestered the discussion into only technology. So carbon capture or carbon credit mechanisms, I think a lot of the discussion is again is being sequestered into certain areas where it helps the current economic structure to continue its extractive economy rather than change, a complete change, a basic change. Loss and damage is another major area. Of course, Paris rule book uh, is again, they thought they'll complete it by COP26, but I think it's going to come up in COP27. Climate finance was promised $100 billion, but even today, I think not even $10 billion was released. And there is now a lot of discussion on what is climate finance, who has to give how much is again issue. And as I mentioned, reporting format is also a question because there is no standardized format. Each one is trying to contribute in their own way. I'll come to the main question because I'm rushing. So India committed nationally determined commitments and they were updated. We committed in 2015. They were updated recently in August 2022. Now, you might have heard Prime Minister giving lifestyle for environment, LAFE, all those things are given. But, the last one you see, to build capacities, create domestic framework and international architecture. Now, I think FTCCA should sit and discuss this because where is the domestic framework? Who is preparing this? I think this is where we all can contribute, and this is where the membership of all the FTCCA or all other industry bodies, I think they should contribute. But right now, I don't think we have a framework at all to discuss. So we need to go details into that. So in terms of which sector contributing what we know, energy, land use, industry, urban, buildings, transport, these are all related. And I'm sure There are many people as part of this FTCCA who are related to all of these sectors. So I think these are the core sectors where we need to reduce emissions. Now these last two slides, I think this is a crucial slide I want to discuss. One, what is the change agenda? One, the energy change. We have to change our energy sources and their decarbonization strategies are being discussed. There's a lot of literature on that, but we are still lagging behind in renewable energy. Even though government said we'll by 2030 we'll have 300 gigawatts of solar energy. That means now I think some 60 gigawatts of installed capacity or committed capacity is there, but actual production is still less. So every year, I think now it has to go up to at least 100 gigawatts or more, if you want to reach ambitious goals. But the Electricity Amendment Act and the various other related policies, I think they are still not enough to facilitate such change towards more renewable sources of energy. Second, of course, raw material change. I think industry needs to seriously look at to change the raw materials and away from the fossil fuel based raw materials. I think that is what is going to help because when we are talking of reducing the emissions of manufacturing sector, raw material change is a very basic requirement. Product change is also there, of course. Most of us, they are used to producing products which, fit to the consumptive lifestyle, and also because of those products, we have an extractive economy which, leads to mining, more mining, so continuous mining. So I think we need to look at the product change as well, because when you are talking of a general consumer, we tell them not to use such and such product, but those products are available because it is being produced continuously. Because some people say, last time we had a workshop here on plastics, so their association president said, "Oh, some 1 lakh people are dependent on this, so we can't stop production." So I think we need to think of how to change that so that their livelihoods can continue, but essentially the product change has to happen. And technology change. Now this is what is being mentioned everywhere. We'll bring more technologies, we'll bring advanced, digitized technologies. But then, this is again, we are going to get colonized if we start thinking of technology will be given only by Western countries or countries which are already developed. We have technologies, but we are not following that. Which I keep saying is one big example is handloom sector in textiles. If you start encouraging handloom textiles, the textile sector will be in our control. We can go back to, we were, 100 years back, 40% of exports, textile exports were from India. We can reach again that if we use technology which is available with us. So there are number of technologies which India can do. In fact, recently there was a photo in Germany. Now they started doing, using leaves to create, small vessels to hold water or whatever, which we had. We even today we have been using leaf-based vessels or leaf-based packing. All this is with us. So we are not yet recognizing the technologies with us, and in the process, we are listening to World Economic Forum or someone coming down and says we need fourth industrial revolution. But fourth industrial revolution, I can warn you, is going to colonize us more. And, most of the Indian manufacturing is going to vanish if we are going to follow the objectives and the agenda which is behind fourth industrial revolution. So my sincere appeal to is, let us discuss all this. Let us discuss these four changes and see how we can bring a domestic framework where all of us can benefit out of it, and we continue to, manufacture the products which are climate friendly and which can help India in, maintaining the position of dominance. So I'm stopping here.